Tips Analysis.
I hope you're feeling positive because this is the Introverted Positron and welcome back to another episode of Tips Analysis. This week, I want to do one final episode on a game that I talked about a little while back, and I want to come back to it now that I've actually beaten it, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So, in case you didn't already notice from the title, I absolutely love playing this game. And I want to figure out partly why, which is part of this video, but I also just want to talk about the game, because I haven't really had a chance to do that with any video outside of, like, some close friends and family, and even then, it's always fun. Anyway, I absolutely adored the game. Honestly, there's surprisingly, there were actually a lot of parts of it that I liked more than the first game, which is surprising. Like, it's, as I've talked about before, first game's far from perfect. It was my favorite JRPG. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 might take that at this point, which is saying something because there's tons and tons of great JRPGs that I played. But yeah, it's just so interesting. I love this game's battle system. I love the characters, the story. The story threw me for fewer spins than I was hoping it would, but at the same time it threw me for a pretty big spin towards the end, which I'm not going to talk about, but it's really, really cool. I was not expecting one particular event to kind of match up, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but I was really excited by the fact that that happened, and I don't want to spoil the game for anybody, so I just want to talk about things in general terms, but it's something about the game's, like, the way everything's executed. The voice acting was surprisingly good. I think there were moments where the voice actors themselves, I think, are generally speaking quite good, but there's kind of more some of the more intense and ridiculous moments where they don't quite match up to what you would expect from it, or what they should get from it. In particular, the voice actor for the main character Rex, like, he's very good most of the time. He gets across emotion quite well in his acting and whatnot, I think, anyway. But there's, in action scenes and stuff, it's like, people make fun of this already, and it's valid. Like, the way he yells, like, his battle cry is, interesting. But otherwise, the voice acting in the game is very, very well done. I was surprised because I wasn't expecting it. The story itself is simple, but it's very interesting. It takes turns I wasn't expecting, and actually has some very interesting symbolism and very interesting, like, morals to the story that I wasn't expecting from the game. Almost like a sort of counterpoint to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 in a sense, in the way it's done, and that's very interesting. I like the fact that they did that. Like, it's a really cool interpretation of events and of stories and of how they deal with these larger themes and larger powers in the game, and what it comes down to in that front was very different in terms of what these games are usually like, and I liked that. I also really enjoyed all of the characters. I realized that some people also make fun of the game for some of the more ridiculous character designs, and that's fair, but those aren't a big part of the game. Most of them aren't that ridiculous. So a lot of them are exaggerated, or exaggerated in just, like, in giving off certain personality traits and stuff like that. And that's fine. The character designs themselves are very well done. I think I heard somewhere, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it's actually a bunch of famous artists from around the world that designed all the rare blades, which is part of it, and that's kind of what I want to get into in a second. But yeah, the character design was amazing. The game is great. The soundtrack is great, although I think I don't like it quite as much as the first game. I think it's almost there. I think it's better than X's personally. I know a lot of people like X's soundtrack, and that's fine. But I found that it was just a little off from the first game's soundtrack's quality. But it makes up for it in so many other areas. The diversity of the world, the world itself, the way, the mythology, the way characters interact, like, it's all on a different level from the first game in that sense, and that's why it's hard for me to say this, but I do think I like it more right now. That can change. It's like with Breath of the Wild, as I kind of got more used to the game after playing it. It's not my favorite Zelda game, but I still really like it, and I still think it's the best Zelda game. I think it's the best designed one, in my opinion, because a lot of the other games in the series suffer from design flaws that people tend to ignore, but I'm going to get into stuff like that for a future video. And not because there's anything wrong with of course there are things wrong with The Legend of Zelda, but there's nothing wrong with people liking those games in spite of their design flaws, and that's fine. But again, a future video. But this game was just wow. Just to get into a little bit, because I want to talk about why I like these sections. So, for instance, all the characters are relatively likable, but they're also not without their struggles and without their flaws, which is something that I find JRPGs have a tendency to do one way or the other, where it's like the character isn't too flawed, but it's almost like their flaws are too simple. Like they should get in the way more than they actually do. I felt in this case they very clearly made, especially the main character's flaws, like very obvious and very much a part of the story, and in a way that it really showed the character's growth, and that was really cool. Also, just in terms of that stuff, like everything in terms of the characters, I felt was very well done. The way that they targeted, again, all the characters' flaws and interesting arcs. And the game does have arcs for the characters, which the first one did kind of have, but not that much. It was just very, very good, very well done, and that was enjoyable for me. I know, again, people are always going to disagree on these things, and that's fine. You're 100% welcome to your opinion. In fact, I'd like to hear opinions. Not too much. There's a certain degree that you're going to just annoy people with, and that might be your intent. And I don't know why I'm getting into that here. I might edit it out. I guess I'll see when I actually edit anything in this. But anyway, that's fine. So the characters I really liked. The story, I kind of went over why I liked that. Also the world itself, like, just to give you perspective, it's kind of almost an extension on the first game, which I know a lot of people don't know. But the world itself is like, everybody lives on Titans, which is, again, very similar to the first game. And then there's a world tree in the center, which is the home of who they call the Architect, who is basically the builder of their world. And these Titans are dying. Like, they're life forms that have been alive for a very long time, but are slowly dying off. And the kind of, like, the way the world's built, the different environments, and why the environments are that way are all very interesting. It's a little simple in terms of the way it's done in that way, like everything's either one way or it's another way. I'm glad they didn't do that with the with the antagonists and stuff. Like there's real depth to the antagonists and to the protagonists of the story, and that I really liked. But yeah, the world itself was just amazing to look at, amazing to explore, very fun to explore, and very well expanded. On a concept that was from the first game, and I think it's a little bit bigger than the first game at the very least. I don't think it's bigger than X in terms of the world size, but definitely a bigger world than the first game, I think. At least it feels like it, which is good, because it should be. And yeah, so that was an experience to go through these Titans and to see how living on these Titans affected its environment, how the Titans themselves produce these environments. Really, really cool stuff. And it made sense. And I love the fact that they're able to build this world and all that stuff. And that was one of my favorite things from the first game, was the perspective. And this game did that very well as well. Like, it's really cool to be standing on the back of a Titan, and then you see the Titan's head up front. Like, they're smaller Titans than the Titans you see in the first Xenoblade Chronicles, but they're still very large creatures, and you get to see these different parts of them and how everything kind of connects, and it's really cool in that way. And the loading screens for the game are only really in between Titans, with I think 1 or 2 exceptions to that. But very, very well done. And yeah, so the story, the world, and the characters all come together well. But then it's the real meat of the game is the blades and the battle system. So for people who don't know, I don't get into it too much because there's spoilers involved in everything. And I really want people to experience this game, and I will do a philosophy video that will spoil this game later. But right now, that's not the point. Now it's just to analyze why I think I love this game. and it's the battle system of the blades. So the blades are these interesting this interesting mechanic in the game, which is basically you have partners which you can assign to your 3 party member, actually up to 5 party members, but only 3 can be on your battle team, which is consistent with the series in general. But these blades are a partner with them, and basically what they do is they bring out different attributes. So you can have a blade that's good at being a tank, attacker, healer, and I think those are the only 3 ones. But then even beyond that, there's different types of weapons. There's ranged weapons, there's melee weapons, there's a variety of different kinds of just like weapons and types that you can use and combinations that will affect how your character's stats are distributed and also affect how you can kind of fight. And on top of that, the blades themselves also have skills. So admittedly, a lot of time in the game is spent going through menus and stuff, but it's because you're building up these blades which help you to access the world, to access battles, to fight really strong creatures, and that part of it's really cool to me. And there's also another level of blade called rare blades, which are basically blades that have characteristics. They have their own missions, they have their own voice actors, and like character arcs that you go through as you level them up, as you unlock their skill tree. And yeah, they're really cool. Like, that's where all the very cool character designs come from, and it's really interesting to play through that, to find different blades. I'm having trouble post-game finding a lot of rare blades, and I think there's only like 12 left. I have to look into the system to figure out how to unlock the rest, because I have a feeling there's a character-based system, and there's also something about these things called ideas. So there's different ideas that I think affect the element that you are likely to summon, but also I think can affect the blade you can get. So I'm wondering if there are particular distributions of these ideas that will help you get rarer blades. But I'm trying to figure that out. For now, I have more than enough as it is. I just want to unlock all that because I want to get through everything in the game still. And yeah, super excited about that. So yeah, the blades and rare blades are interesting, but then you get into the actual battle system itself, and it's such an interesting battle system. Like, it's not complicated in terms of the way it's distributed, but in terms of the number of combinations and how it all works is really cool. So basically, it is a fairly complex battle system, but the way it works is it's your standard Xenoblade layout, where you can do like a certain number of attacks. You have topples, which are a way of knocking an enemy over, which also gets rid of their defense bonuses. They've also added launch to this one, launch and smash. So it's like a launch puts him in the air, and a smash like smashes in the ground. I think it does extra damage. I haven't really mastered that particular thing, but it's called a driver combo. So basically it uses your driver skills, which are your main characters, well, not main characters, but the fighting characters, versus the blades, which are the ones that give your characters their abilities. And you can use those to kind of do different things, and do arts to combo into these combos with smashes, topples, and all that stuff. Is generally speaking, you have to break an enemy first to make them unstable, and then topple them, then launch them, then smash them. And that's a full driver combo. And then there's also blade combos, which are interesting because each blade gives you different arts. That also helps with the driver combos, but each blade also has their own set of abilities that do massive amounts of damage. So you have like level 1 to 4 as possibilities. Although as far as I know, only whoever you're controlling as your main character can access level 4. Because it's basically based upon how well you're doing in battle. As you use the blade more in battle, their affinity goes up in that battle. Once it gets to a certain top level where like there's a strand connecting your blade to your character, it turns gold. That's like the top level. And once it's there and you're at level 3, then you, if you wait long enough, then you will get a level 4 special and all that stuff. But that's really just to do like massive amounts of damage. But yeah, so when you do a blade combo, it's basically doing a level 1, a level 2, and then at least a level 3 attack. And it's at least. So a level 3 will start the level 1 version of the combo, but after that you have to use at least a level 2 to do the next part, and at least a level 3 to do the last part, and so on and so forth. And on top of that, there's also elemental elements to it, depending on which blade you're using, which has an assigned element. So it's like you go through a tree, basically, which pops up when you start a combo. And you can go up that tree by using the element that's next on that tree to get to what's called a seal. So once you get to the final part of the combo, the level 3 part, and you unlock that seal, you unlock what's called an elemental orb. So that applies that orb to your enemy, which does a massive like amount of block against that element. So it's like there's fire, wind, ice, light, dark, water. I missed water somehow. I also feel like I'm missing one more because I only counted 7 there. Earth. I forgot Earth. Yeah. Oh, wait. I forgot a bunch of them. Anyway, we're not going to worry about that. The point is that, yeah, so once you start on one element, you have to finish by using successive elements on the tree. So it'll be like next one. Usually there's 1 or 2 options. Sometimes there's, 1 or 2 options. And eventually you'll make it to the final one and you get an elemental orb. And that sounds like a bad thing when you have an elemental orb that blocks it, and it kind of is. But you can build up elemental orbs, and you can use a chain attack, which if you played the first game is basically you go through all of your people and then you can choose an art to use. Well, in this case it actually uses your blade special, so like that level 1, 2, or 3, or 4 move. And then what you can do with those is you can use the opposite elements of the orbs to break those orbs, which continues the chain attack and also gives you a chance to get more powerful chain attacks. So like, instead of using a level 1 special, which is the starting point, you can move up to level 2 and then level 3. I haven't made it to level 4, but I suspect it's possible, because there's like a bar you see, but anyway, I'm not going to get too in depth into it. But then you can do that, so it's just, the whole, and that does massive amounts of damage. It's like, going up against the final boss, which I won't get too much into. I did like I basically killed the boss with by doing like 4 sets of chain attacks, and so he didn't really stand a chance at that point. And it's like they, I don't know. Probably shouldn't. Anyway, whatever. Sorry about that. Might cut that out again. We'll see again how I'm feeling once I'm editing this. But yeah, so the whole point is that you can do massive amounts of damage. On top of that, you can also reduce the amount of damage you get by toppling. You can do more damage with that too. It's an interesting system, and it's fairly complex and interesting, and it also forces you to use multiple types of blades to switch up what kind of combos you can do, which is really cool. Of course, I pretty much only use rare blades on my team, not because the other ones are important. There is actually a reason to train them as well. But because they take so long to train, it's nice to have them on my team just to work on their skill tree and to unlock their missions and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just that battle system is so interesting. I like it. It's simple, and it has a simple execution of a complex idea, which is really cool. And it's really fun. Like I really enjoy doing it. It's really satisfying. Like trying to execute those combos and getting through it and having fun with it, while at the same time it being an action RPG with some turn-based elements to it. It's not really turn-based, but it's really fun. I don't know what else to say on that front, but I find it to be quite enjoyable to go through. I enjoy having a game that requires me to actually learn the system over time and not just immediately pick up on everything, which is something I haven't had in a while, just because like stuff even like Tales games, even though there is complexity to the system, they're quite simple in terms of the execution. And it's not as fun. It's just not as fun to go through, in my opinion. But I found this was very well done. I legitimately think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is better, in my opinion, than the first game. I think review scores are aside, like, I just find it's a better game, and review scores don't matter necessarily in terms of deciding that. Necessarily, I say. This is, again, topics that I want to talk about another time. But yeah, I had an immensely fun time with the game. I'm still having an immensely fun time with the game. In fact, I'm hoping for the game to be the first game I stream on Twitch, which should be soon, hopefully in the next few days, depending on how the newest video I'm working on right now works out, which I'm really excited to finally get out to you, because I've been wanting to get it done for a while. But yeah, this game has been amazing. It's been great to play through it. It's been great to have fun with just mastering the game, mastering the world, having fun discovering things, unlocking blade after blade, and just having something that takes up my time that I can really continue to enjoy even after I've beaten it. Breath of the Wild has that to an extent, but after beating it, for instance, there was a kind of finality to it. It didn't really feel like I needed to go farther with it after that. And that's kind of the thing about it, yes, there's a lot of stuff you can do, and you can have a lot of fun playing around with the physics engine and stuff, but that's not necessarily something I like to do. I like to have motivation behind what I'm doing, and that's why I enjoy games that have great stories. I think Breath of the Wild is still my favorite game from last year, but this is, I think, a close second for me, with Mario Odyssey being a third, another game which I'll talk about soon, because it's also on the channel, so I'll talk about that at some point, maybe when it ends, maybe in the next couple weeks, but yeah. So yeah, that's why I love Xenoblade Chronicles too. So we're gonna end it there. I know I'm always awkward with the ending, but I think it's just what I need to do for now. So I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps with the channel, and it's always appreciated. I'm going to leave some links here so you can go check out some other stuff on my channel, or you can always just search the channel. There's lots of stuff for people, playlists, and all that stuff. And so on that note, thank you again. Have a great day, and remember to keep positive.